Good morning, Freedom Center. Man, it is good once again to have any connection with you. I know that this is not what we're looking forward to in the sense that we want to be together again, but this is great. And I have really enjoyed this season of just being involved in your family in this way, being in your living rooms, being in your family rooms, being in your car, being in your ambulance, wherever you are today. I'm glad that you're here. I think you've made a great decision to join us. I encourage you right now, if you would, press that share button, press that like button, press that. Let's get this out because today is going to be awesome. It is Mother's Day, and we're going to enjoy some time together with the First Lady of the Freedom Center. We're going to be having a time of worship in just a moment. And as I pray for you today, would you just kind of, wherever you are, join me in this. And then we're going to have a time of worship. And then we're going to get to really spend some quality time with a quality lady. So, Father, today we thank you for the ability to worship wherever we are, whenever we see this. You are good, and you deserve our highest praise. So today, God, here's our hearts. Here's our hands. Here's our full attention, God. We love you. We bless you, and we pray your blessing, God, over everybody now that watches. And may what we do and say, God, bring you glory today in Jesus' name. And everybody said, amen. Enjoy.
thought by now they'd fall, but you have never failed me yet. Waiting for change to come, knowing the battle's won, for you have never failed me yet. Your promise still stands, great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands, this is my confidence, you never fail me yet. I know the night won't last, your word will come to pass. My heart will sing your praise again. Jesus, you're still enough. Keep me within your love, and my heart will sing your praise again. Your promise still stands, great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands, this is my confidence, you never fail. Your promise still stands, great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands, this is my confidence, you never fail me yet. I see you move the mountains, and I believe I see you do it again. You made a way where there was no way, and I believe I see you do it again. I've seen you move the mountains, and I believe I see you do it again. You made a way where there was no way, and I believe I see you do it again. I've seen you move the mountains, and I believe I see you do it again. You made a way where there was no way, and I believe I see you do it again. I see you do it again. Your promise still stands, great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands, this is my confidence, you never fail. Your promise still stands, great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands, never failed me. No, you never failed me. No, you never failed me. Tried hiding. Oh, how I've squandered my life. I've lost my senses. I can't go back to where I've been. I'm living in the night. But still, you know when I rise and when I fall. God, you've searched my heart and know my deepest thought. And at my darkest, you've loved me and you've stayed close. I see your hand has held me through my highs and lows. Your love endures forever. Your love endures forever. Your love endures forever. It's the safest place I'll be. Your love endures forever. Your love endures forever. Your love endures forever. It's the safest place I'll be. Oh, now I'm running to my King. Oh, now I'm hiding in the shadow of your wing. Oh, now I'm leaving every dead thing behind. I found my freedom in your resurrected life. And still you know when I rise and when I fall. God, you've searched my heart and know my deepest thoughts. And at my darkest, you love me and you stayed close. I see your hand has held me through my highs and lows. Your love endures forever. Your love endures forever. Your love endures forever. It's the safest place I'll be. Your love seated in the place of victory. And all my hidden thoughts of shame and depravity are brought to light as love begins to set me free. Oh, you set me free.
Good morning, Freedom Center Church. It's so great to have you with us again this Sunday. We are so happy to be a part of your Sunday morning routine. Happy Mother's Day to all of you out there. We pray that you moms are being spoiled and loved on in incredible ways today, and that you feel the love of the Father in a tangible way this morning as services continue. We wanted to let you guys know of a couple of announcements that are coming up. Groups. May is groups time around Freedom Center Church. If you want to see what is available, if you want to sign up for one, you can go to our website and find it in the tab groups, and it's going to show you everything that's available. We're going to be doing virtual groups to start with. We may have some outdoor activities, but just make sure that you go and check and sign up, because we want to make sure that we have groups available for everybody who wants to be a part of those. Also, graduation should be coming up the end of May. We're not sure what schools are doing, but we as a church want to honor those who are graduating. So you can follow the link below to sign up to be a part of that. We just want to make sure that we celebrate you and all that you have accomplished throughout the years. Lastly, we just want to say thank you again for your continued support of Freedom Center Church. I want to encourage you guys to continue to sow seeds here in this house that we're a part of. That, just a testimony this past week, I wanted to sow seeds somewhere else. And when I contacted the person, they said, no, you sow seed in your community, in your church, and see what God does with it. And I was a little hurt, but then when I came back to it, I'm like, that is true. I should be sowing seed right here in our church, in our community, because that's where my heart is. So I want to encourage you guys, be faithful with that. Just let God use you how He wants to. You can give on our app. You can give on our the link that is below. You can also send a check to P.O. Box 52, Fenton, Michigan, 48430. And we're just so thankful for you and your partnership with it. We have a Kingdom Builders video that is coming up. But again, I just want to say Happy Mother's Day to you guys. Hope you have a phenomenal Sunday. And I look forward to seeing you again next week. Have a great day.
Hi, my name is Michele Stokes, and I have been attending the Freedom Center Church for 18 or 19 years now. It's my family, it's my home, it's my passion. But what a lot of you don't know is about 2 years ago, I hit a really rough spot. My mom was diagnosed with cancer, and we were given 4 to 6 weeks, and we lost her after 5. And it was the roughest time ever. I spiraled down in a very dark place. She was my absolute best friend, the type of relationship that every mother dreams of. That's what we had. And it was really hard for me to lose her. And it was dark, it was scary, and it was the Freedom Center Church family that just pulled me in. And after a long time of struggling, I realized that I wasn't fulfilling what God wanted me to. I wasn't living the legacy that my mom would have wanted me to, and I started reaching out to people. And then the coronavirus started. And so my family and I, on purpose, started reaching out and saying, how can we help people not go where we were? How can we love others in a way that just is done on purpose, that loves them in a way that makes them feel that the Freedom Center Church, that the Stokes family just needs them and needs them to fulfill God's purpose in them, just like I had to. So we started texting Dena and saying, what can we do? How can we help? And the list has been phenomenal. One story that I can specifically share is a nurse at Hurley, and I was able to drop off a large laundry baskets of these Kingdom Builder baskets, and they had snacks in them. And she looked at me, she's like, I don't even go to your church. And I just smiled and I said, I know, but we love you. I don't even know. And I'm like, I know, but you are a first responder, and we want to honor those people that are working on the front lines, and we just want to share Jesus. And then next half hour later, I get pictures of all these beautiful nurses with their masks on, holding these baskets with tears in their eyes. And it was the kingdom builders that provided that. The faces on the nurses, when I handed these beautiful care packages to them, they were blown away. And I just wanted to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart, stepping in and being the family that I so much needed, and being the family that so many other people need right now when it's dark, when it's scary, when even when you're just bored in confinement. Kingdom Builders is providing a way to show the light of Jesus in a way that I'm not sure many people understand. And so I wanted to take this opportunity and just share with you how excited and pleased I am to be, how proud I am to be a part of this church family. And so thank you. Thank you for being there when I needed you. Thank you for being there when others need you.
Good morning, Freedom Center. Man, happy Mother's Day. So excited to have a little bit of time today with the First Lady of the Freedom Center. And I know that you join me in just saying happy Mother's Day to the mom of the house. You know, she is a grace-filled, humble, wonderful, beautiful. She's hating this, so I'm not making eye contact with her, but she's the bomb. And if you want to kind of extend a quick, hey, happy Mother's Day to Dena, or say something, now's a good time to type that in and just kind of extend your congratulations on being awesome to her. That would be great. And I just want to say that we honor you. Thank you for doing this. You found out about this yesterday. This was not something you've prepared for. I'm going to be asking you some questions you have not seen yet, and I imagine that your answers are going to be very real, very raw, unedited, the unplugged version of it. And thank you. But before we do, I just want to say that when I read Proverbs chapter 31, and I see a woman there that doesn't seem real. I remember reading that for years. And she gets up before dawn. She takes care of people that takes care of people. She's strong. Her family is clothed in dignity. Her husband sits at the city gate and doesn't do much, but everybody respects him. She considers a field. She buys it, and she uses the proceeds from that entrepreneurial adventure and does other things with it. Like, I have never known a woman like you. And I want to say on behalf of this congregation, your sons, your grandson, your granddaughter, and certainly your husband, like, thank you for being you. Happy Mother's Day. You're amazing. And I want to say, too, that, the questions that you're about to answer, again, you have no idea what they are, right?
I have no idea.
Okay, is this making
Not
you
a
nervous?
clue. Yep.
Okay, good. That's fun for me. So here's the first question. We'll start with an easy one. Tell us about your normal day. It's a normal work day. What does a normal work day look for Proverbs 31, Dena? What is normal for you?
What is a normal work day for me? A normal work day is usually getting to the church by 7 o'clock to get all of my my ducks in a row before everybody gets here at 8 a.m. for prayer. And lately it's been from 9 to noon. I'm having 15-minute meetings with every senior staff person, and those are usually running a little bit long because there's lots of needs right now.
Yeah, well, and
and
preachers,
everything.
like, you give them a 15-minute time slot. That probably ain't going to happen, right? So all of that. Now, you say your day starts at 7 o'clock, but
My work day,
but it doesn't really start at 7 o'clock. What time does your day actually start?
about 5 a.m.
Okay, so at 5 a.m., what happens at 5 a.m.? Because I know the demands of your day, and I know that if you don't have that time, really the other times are hindered. So what happens at 5 a.m.?
I get up and I go get on my bike, my Peloton bike that's in our office right now.
Yeah.
Missing my gym, but get on the Peloton.
I thought I was your gym.
And okay.
Dad joke. We'll say that for Father's Day.
And I'm on it for usually 45 minutes and get off, get myself ready, all my stuff gathered up, and head out the door.
Now, while you're doing that, I'm up praying for you, cooking you breakfast, washing your car. Is that true?
you're not up cooking me breakfast and stuff, but probably half the times you're up and reading your Bible, and you're doing the spiritual things while I'm hanging out on a bike.
But that first hour or two of the day, right? That's the time that sets the mood for the rest of the day.
Correct.
So if you don't get a workout in and you don't get time to organize, pray, get all your ducks in a row before everybody else shows up, the day feels like it's out of control.
Yes.
Right. So you rise before the dawn, and you prepare portions for your serving girls. That's what Proverbs 31 talks about in that thing. So you're a hard worker. Have you always been a hard worker?
Yes. Always.
And where did that come from? Where did you get that ethic from?
I was raised on a farm. I was raised by parents who, my dad he owned a carpet store, and he would call me to work, and I would think he wanted me to sit in the carpet shop and greet people as they came in, and he didn't. I remember actually going to work one day in a skirt, and I showed up at the shop, and he called the shop and sent me to where they were laying carpet, and he made me lay carpet in a skirt.
Yeah.
And so I laid carpet all day that day in the skirt.
In a skirt.
Yep.
With knee pads on and a skirt.
No knee pads.
No knee pads, because
No.
you were tough. You're a farm girl.
Stuff. Yeah.
I love
So.
it. I love it. So just out of curiosity, because some people may not know this, behind your house there was an open field.
Mm-hmm.
How far was it between your house and the next house? Not the house next door, but the house
Right.
across that field. How far was it to the next town?
Oh, to the next town was 18 miles.
So 18 miles from your house, nothing but nature, nothing but fields, nothing but wheat fields and cockroaches and snakes and rats and stuff that grows in fields right between
Yep.
you and the next neighbor. So you got a work ethic because you didn't just run to the store. You were self-sufficient from birth, right? That's just, you were raised by farmers who were raised by farmers who were raised by farmers who settled that land as boomers and sooners, right?
Yep.
They were the cannon went off and they took off in their covered wagons and they claimed that land
Yep.
that later became Hardesty or Hard and Dusty, Oklahoma,
Yep.
as it's become known. So you've always been that way. And I would say this, so what would you say to a woman that wasn't raised that way? Because I think the agricultural rhythm, up early before the dawn, milk the chickens, herd the cats and all that kind of stuff, that you were raised that way. But what if you weren't raised that way? And the thought of getting up at 5 a.m., like there's probably women listening right now that say, I could stay up till 5 a.m., but there's no way
Right.
I could get up at 5 a.m. How would they expand their abilities so that I guess later on in life they don't have these regrets that I napped through my life. I
Right.
really worked hard. It made a difference. I served my children. I served my community. What advice would you give them to kind of expand their abilities that way?
I guess I would have to say there's seasons to life, right? Like when we first got married, if you woke me up before 9 o'clock in the morning, you better have a pretty darn good reason why you were waking me up.
I was hungry.
I used to sleep a lot, and then babies came along, and you don't have that opportunity, and the season of working out went by the wayside for me. It just didn't happen, and it's a lot to take care of little kids and a house and be married and keep that priority and keeping God first, and it's just a lot. So in that season of life, if somebody would have told me to get up at 5 a.m. in the morning, I would have laughed at him. That's just, again, the thought was just, no.
Right.
And it wasn't until the boys got to a point where they could stay home by themselves that you and I said it's time to start being active. And which, when we started running again, it just woke that within me that I love this. This
That
is
inner
what I was
athlete.
created. This is what I was, so
Yeah. How many thousands of miles do you think we've run together through the years in
I
running?
wouldn't even have a clue.
No clue, right? It was about 300 to 500 miles to train for a marathon. We ran a couple of them, and then we ran across the state of Michigan for my 50th birthday, a 150-miler, and
We've
all
done
that
the
stuff.
Crim a couple of times, a couple of half marathons, and
Yeah.
we've done a lot.
Yeah. And I think during all that time, that running, that workout, it's not just that you needed to get your heart started, right? There's something else that happens there's something emotionally that happens when you take that time for you. Now, I think some people might say, well, my time is time in the Word. My time is time in the garden. My time is, putting my kids down for a nap and doing laundry. Like, what what through the seasons of life, what has been your time? We talked about working out. We talked about sleeping in before we had kids, and I went to work, and you were in an apartment that was so small you didn't have to unplug the vacuum cleaner to
Right.
vacuum the entire apartment. But what other things have you seen or have you done that kind of made it your time? And when that time was done, you were more prepared to be all the things, all the demands on your life. What are some of those other times?
Well, I would say probably one of my biggest things is the Dena Monday.
Yeah.
And that is something that I live with a very extroverted person
Yeah, JD's terrible that way.
whose love language is physical touch and quality time.
Mhm.
And so you could be with me 24/7 and
Yeah.
be totally fine with that.
Yeah.
And I need quiet, I need alone, I need just to be by myself, and I remember when I first came and I'm like, listen, I just need time. We work together, we go to church together, we do everything together. I just need some time. And it hurts your feelings. Like
Yeah.
you thought I was rejecting you.
Yeah.
And I'm
What do you
like,
mean you need time away from me? I'm delightful. I spend all day with me and enjoy it. What's the problem here?
And see, I spend all day with me and don't know why anybody wants to spend time with me. So that's, but on Monday afternoons now, it is from the time I get home from church, we have meetings, 9 to 1 usually, something like that.
Yeah.
And from the time I get home till dinner time, it's my time I just get to go to the bedroom, close the door, and I can work if I want to without being asked, what are you working on? What are you doing? What are you, or I can watch what I want to watch on TV, or I can nap if I want to,
Yeah.
or I can and I don't have anybody asking me questions. I don't have anything. And
Right. I remember when the kids were little, it'd be the same sort of thing, that when I would come home and you'd been with a 3-year-old and a newborn for the whole day, and I would say, hey, give me a hug. You're like, everybody has hugged me all day long.
Right.
If you want to bless me, don't touch me. You want to bless
Right.
me? Take these babies and give me some time to kind of take a shower, to take a walk, to call a friend.
Well, when our kids were younger, it used to be my thing to go to the grocery store. He would get home, I would hand him the kids, and I'd say, I'm going to the grocery store. But I had a game that I played when I went to the grocery store. It was, how much money can I save?
Good
and
game.
we cut coupons, we shopped all the sales, and I went to several different stores. Maybe part of that was to save money, maybe part was to be gone longer. I don't know. But it was a game. It was an adventure for me to go and have by myself
By yourself.
and just have that time. So that's why every season of life I've had to find those things that work.
Right. Being a woman, being a wife, being a mother, which I again, the reason you're sitting on that couch is because I find you to be successful at all of those things. Being a child of God, being a wife, being a mother, being a grandmother. I don't know anybody that excels beyond you. So that's why I'm asking you these questions, and there isn't somebody else sitting on the couch. That and COVID-19, right? But I know that you don't feel that way. Matter of fact, I don't know any mother that hasn't said at some point, I'm a terrible mother. I don't know any wife that hasn't said at some point, I'm a terrible wife. I don't know any woman that hasn't said, I'm a terrible daughter. There's an ingrained reality that has to be confronted with truth, right? And as you've faced all the struggles of raising sons and pastoring and marriage and all that stuff, how have you kept your head screwed on straight and not given in to the feelings of failure and sincere times where there wasn't success, right? It isn't like we've always had success and I've had to talk you into it. There's been times where we've had big arguments. There's been times where we regretted how we've raised our sons. We've made financial mistakes. We've lost our temper with each other. So how do you get through tough seasons? Because I think a lot of people are in a tough season right now because you could go to work and get away from it for a while, and now you can't. You're stuck in that house without Dena time. You know what I mean? For the average person that's watching. So how did you get through I suck? How did you get through I'm not good at this? How did you endure that?
Wow. I think a lot of prayer, a lot of time in the Word, a lot of time of, there's a song that I've heard a lot recently, and failure doesn't define me.
Here it comes. Yeah,
It's what my Father does.
right. Failure doesn't define me.
It's
But-
what my Father does.
It's what
and
my Father
that's,
does.
it's what God does. It's God defining me and not letting the world define me.
Yeah, yeah. You know, one of the things that we're talking about next week is why Jesus and children had such a great relationship. That what kids have that adults would really struggle with. And I think the ability to receive love, adults struggle with a lot more than kids do. And the love of God, as you're describing, it's not the performance. It's not that you're good enough to be loved, but I love you because I love you, because I love you, because I love you. You know what I mean? Talk to that for just a second. Obviously this is something that's helping, but there's still a struggling match, right? How did you turn the corner from I'm loved because I scored points as a basketball player. I'm loved because I laid carpet in a skirt. I'm loved because, right? Because I think performance is something we all fight for the cheers, you know? But how do you as a person, when it's just you and God, how has that evolved? Like how have you've grown in that? Tell us about that journey.
Yeah. Man, it has been such a journey. I remember at first, relationship with God was such a new thing to me. I had no clue when you and I met, like, what is a relationship with God? And that's where just you walking me through that and what a relationship with God looked like and everything. And when I first started it, I was so angry at God.
Right.
Just fought constantly with him about, if you loved me, then why?
Right.
And, and anger. And slowly through letting go of anger, he has just softened my heart to where, because, at first it was like, okay, I have a relationship with God, but is he good?
Right.
Am I good? Is he a cosmic father out there and just little by little, just seeing his faithfulness, you just start to open up a little bit more and a little bit more, and then you don't question anymore, is he good?
Right.
But then you start, okay, if he's good, am I good?
Okay.
And
What's that mean? If he's good, am I good? Am I
well,
good enough to be loved?
I'm always striving to look like Jesus,
Right.
That's what we're all supposed to do. And if I'm striving to look like someone who's good, does that mean I'm good?
Right.
And yes, I am good because he created me. That makes me good. The things I do may not be good,
Right.
and that's the sin that stands between me and him. But learning that I can sit at his feet anytime, and he can take me right back. And the only thing that keeps me not good are those sins,
Right.
and just repenting.
So part of that, being a wife and a mother and a grandmother and a leader and a servant, comes out of being a daughter.
Yeah,
Would
it has
you,
to totally.
I want to say, to what extent? Is it 100%? Like if you don't get the daughter thing right, then we're faking the wife stuff and the mother stuff to some degree? Or, we're doing the best we can. I don't mean faking it, but how, can you just speak to that? The people that are wrestling with a relationship with God, a woman having a relationship, and maybe, as in your case, everybody else that had the name father or male authority, a lot of them didn't protect you, didn't provide for you, exploited you, hurt you, right? And so now, hey, trust your father. It's like, I learned not to. You know what I mean? So speak to that, could you?
It was a total trust thing, right? When you and I got married, and I would say for many years, I didn't trust you to provide for me, to protect for me, to do all of the things that, right? The world tells us this is what a father is supposed to do, what a husband, all of that. And, but because of the hurts, you see that not happening. And it's not happening because I'm not letting it. I'm not receiving it. I'm not,
You learn not to, right? You've learned to protect yourself.
Yes.
To provide for yourself because of the failures of others.
Totally.
And now God comes in as father, and I'm going to say this wrong, but in a sense, he almost has to earn that right in your heart. He doesn't have to earn that right. He is right. But in your heart, he has to prove himself faithful before you trust him.
Yes.
Versus I trust you no matter what. Like that takes time, right?
Yes.
So Romans chapter 12, verses 1 and 2, don't be conformed any longer to the patterns of this world, but transformed by the renewing of your mind. You really have been on a journey now for, I've known you for over 30 years and watched that continual tense evolution of being transformed in the continual tense, renewed in that continual tense.
Yes.
What would you say to a wife, a mother, a daughter right now about that journey? Like because you have miles behind you, you can speak to people that are miles behind you, right? You can say things to them. What would you say to a woman who's wrestling with trusting God as Father, trusting her husband, trusting God to be good? What would you say?
Every journey's different for every person, and I think we look at this person's journey and that person's journey, and maybe we're not where those people are. And it's, I've been struggling with this for 13 years, whereas somebody that struggled with it for, 10 years is so far ahead of me. And, and then that's why you start feeling like a failure. That's why you start feeling like I'm not going to get this. And, but every journey is worth every step that you have to take on that journey.
That's good.
And it is your journey. It's your story. It's what God's speaking to you. And I want to say there's something for those longer journeys that you're learning a part of God's heart that probably the person that has a shorter journey is not learning. You're learning things that very few people know. And that it's okay where you're at on the journey. I mean, some are just learning to trust the Father. Some are, they're so far ahead because, I look at Miss Pat, and she had the most amazing relationship with her earthly father. Yeah. So that when God says, Father, God's my Father. She takes it. She takes everything that he says to heart. I mean, trust wasn't something that she had to learn. Right. She already knew it.
Right.
And so, versus people that didn't. So, but when I look at Miss Pat, her journey, is amazing. Yeah. My journey is amazing. Everybody's journeys are all, so don't look at a journey and think, I'm never going to get there. Right. Because who knows what's over the next hill, It could be something there. It could be the promised land. It could be, I don't know. But I know I look up or wake up now and I'm just like, what's today going to hold for me? And some days I go to bed and wish I wouldn't have ever got up that morning. And some days I go to bed and I'm like, okay, another step closer to God. So. Right.
This year, you've entered into your 30th year of motherhood, right? Not the 30th anniversary of motherhood, but the 30th year. Our oldest son, Joshua, turns, I can't say it because he'll be mad at me, but 30 coming up here this year. and so you have raised babies through, the first school days, the first haircuts, the first girlfriends, the first heartbreaks, the teenage years, the driver's license, the season where they start to pull away from you and you got to mourn that. They go off to college and just despicably leave you and abandon you, and I hated that season. And then we go see Toy Story 3 and lose it because I went to cheer myself up and found out the whole depressing movie is Pixar films, that I need therapy after watching. Right. And then they find these great women and getting married and have been married now for years, 2 grandbabies. So you, again, I don't mean to make you the expert in the room, but when it comes to being a woman, let's face it, you are the expert in this room.
Well, in this room where there are no other women, just a bunch of men.
So what advice? Let's just do a quick lightning round. People who just they have young babies. What's your best single piece of advice for people with young babies? 20 seconds.
Enjoy the time with them.
Why is that?
You just never get it back.
Yeah. It's the best, right? You're exhausted. You're broke. You have stitches in places you never thought you'd have stitches. Right. And it's the best. Yeah.
And in those early years, you're just building such bonds with your kids, and they're learning trust. They're learning all these things, and it's hard when you yourself are struggling to find that trust, Yeah. And so then you have a little.
Yeah. So move up to the next stage. Let's say where Hollis is at right now, our grandson. So what advice would you give to our daughter-in-law or others like her that have a 2-year-old and a just popped out the other day old?
Just popped out the other day. She's almost a year old. Again, just enjoy the time. Don't look and think you have to he has to know everything. He has to be able to read by the time he goes to kindergarten. He has to, I don't even know what's required of a kindergarten student now, but I know it's not
A college degree. Yeah.
pretty much, but again, they're only young ones and they're forming everything right now. They look at you for everything and they are learning so much by watching you.
Yeah.
And I just remember just the many times that I'm like, are you paying attention, And then they say something that you said in passing, and it's like, oh my
boy.
gosh, paying attention so much more than I realized.
Move up to the next stage, elementary school, kindergarten through 6th grade. What advice do you have to mothers that have kids at that age?
Wow. Those ages, I honestly, I feel like such a failure through those ages.
Really? Oh my gosh. I don't remember it that way at all. I remember having just the time of our life and moving around and cream of hot dog soup so we could go see grandma in Tennessee. And I remember those being great days. What is it about that you feel a sense of regret about?
Just schooling for me was such a huge thing. I mean, you only have 6 kids in your class, and your teacher that teaches you at school is also your Sunday school teacher at church.
And your dad's business partner, your mom's
and they
best
know what
friend.
you're capable of. They know all of those things. So grades were super important to me. They were super, and I just remember more times than not, you and I just knocking heads because I'm like, these grades, and you've been like, what? We're gonna go play hooky today. We're gonna sign the kids out of school and play. And I'm just like, we can't do that. And you're like, sure we can. I'm the dad. And I was just like, I'm not going with you. And like, I didn't want to have fun with them until like school time was over, because that's not. And just thankful for you and that you understood.
How important those times were.
I think of times that, Josh having a real hard time at school one year and calling home constantly because he was sick. And my answer would have been, I'll go pick him up and take him home. And your answer was, but why? And getting to heart issues. And
do you remember what that issue was? There were girls that liked him.
Yes.
And put a note in his locker. And I remember having the talk with him saying, son, one of these days you're going to have another tear-filled, difficult season of your life when they're not putting notes in your locker and not liking you.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's just such a, the communication is hard for me. The heart is hard, and I'm just thankful that you were there to walk the kids through all of
We
that.
were there. Yeah, both of us, though. That certainly a team effort. As a dad having sons, I wonder if we'd have had daughters, what my role would have been besides, loading the guns every night and chasing the boys away and all that stuff. So.
No, if we would have had daughters, I would have told them to suck it up. And
Yeah. Right, you would have trained them to be women, and I would have babied them as princesses, right?
yeah.
So move on to the next thing, junior high, high school, 20 seconds. What advice do you have to mothers that their kids are moving into that stage, the junior high, high school, driver's license, track team, football, cheerleaders?
Yeah, it takes trust to a whole new level, learning that. And having different sons, that Pastor Josh, whatever we want to call him, he's more quiet. He's not going to tell you when things are happening. He's just going to deal with it.
Yeah. Right, whereas JD's never had a private thought in his life.
Right,
You'd
but
never guess,
I'm thankful God sent Chris into his life, that he had a friend. They stuck close. Corey Hubbard, you're going to hate me saying this, but I remember Corey telling me stories of Josh and Chris coming up to her, and not coming up to her, but they had a class together or something like that. And Corey would be telling them all the crazy things she did over the weekend, and they're like, cool, we played video games.
Yeah.
Not really knowing. But I was so thankful that God had sent Chris. And then, JD, on the other hand, is going to tell us, I was accused of being a cult leader, son, and this is what I said, and this is who I said it to, and I asked my teacher to the prom, and I'm like, you did what?
Literally every year asks his teacher to the prom. Yeah.
And stuff, but that's just the different personalities. And I actually remember when they were in grade school and you and I were fighting about their grades, me saying, then their schooling is on you.
Yeah.
That is I'm out because I can't continue for it to cause tension this way.
Right.
And you're the husband, I respect you, I honor you, so, And I remember in high school, JD got his phone taken away from him. Josh had already graduated, JD got his phone taken away, and JD was actually texting me, and I had to go to the school to get it back. And the superintendent or principal said, "Who are you?" And I'm like, "I'm the mom." And he's like, "You have a mom?" He looked at JD because he was so used to seeing you.
Yeah,
and
we spent
everything.
quality time together during JD's high school career. We spent time talking to
Right.
committees and panels, and in a good way. It was never a
Right.
protest. It was just helping them understand that my son is like me, and I can help you understand that a little bit better, maybe.
Right.
Right.
But I would say, kind of going back to love languages, again, your love language being quality time and words, that's how you loved our kids through schooling.
Yeah.
Mine, gifts and acts of service. So Joshua to this day can still play me like he wants to and get just about anything he wants. JD just looks at me and says, "Mother dearest," and he can have just about anything he wants. And that's because that's my love language. I'm saying to them, I love you.
Yeah,
And
I love it. College age was very difficult for you, sending the kids
Yes.
off to college. What advice do you have to moms that have grown children now? There's no way we're getting through this without tears, so let her fly. Just get out the tissues. That was a hard season on us. I mean, I remember we dropped Josh off, our oldest, at Spring Arbor and cried all the way to Ann Arbor without saying a word in the rain. Never forget it. One of the worst drives of my life, So
Yeah.
what advice do you have there?
let yourself feel all the stuff. I mean, I know I have some friends who literally dropped their kids off at school and they had vacation on the way home, had the time of their life. And I'm like, how did you do that?
Right.
And they were like, what? I've prepared them for this. This is fun for them. And I'm like, but aren't you going to miss them? And they were like, well, yeah, but I'll, see them again and all this stuff. And I think just letting yourself feel it. It doesn't have to, there is no right or wrong way to have a feeling when your kid goes to school.
If you're mourning it, go
And-
ahead and mourn it. Don't
Yes.
live there. Don't
Right, you
suffer
can't live
depression
there.
from it. But to mourn it, if it's happy, then rejoice in it. It's okay, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So
Here's our last. Our time is out, and I know I say 20 seconds, but this is what I'm going to call the COVID-19 lightning round.
Ah.
You do not have more than 10 seconds to answer any of these questions, and we're going to do it for the next 3 minutes. Are you ready?
okay.
COVID-19 lightning round. No more than 10 seconds. How are you doing?
I have my good days and my bad days.
Isn't that nice to be able to say that? Next one. What's your greatest joy of the last couple of months?
Living the scripture, a generous heart or a generous person will prosper. But and gosh, why did you ask me this on the spot? I knew I wouldn't be able to say it as soon as you. A generous person prospers, and he who refreshes others will be refreshed.
I love it. Proverbs. You know where that is in Proverbs?
11:25, I believe.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
So.
So what has your greatest challenge been in the last couple of months?
My greatest challenge has been, I've always believed God would do exceedingly abundantly above all I could ask, think, or imagine.
Yeah.
But now it's almost like, okay, but now people are watching. Are they going to see God doing exceedingly abundantly above all I
Right.
could ask, think, or imagine,
Right.
And just trusting God that he's the one, right, that put every desire there. So watching him do it. So, but that's been a challenge to trust.
Yeah.
And
Well, because the questions changed, right? So the answers you knew and trusted, and the provision that was consistent, and or salaried or budgeted or scheduled. All of a sudden, everything is blowing out, and it's just back to a living God or faith in a budget that no longer works.
right.
Yeah, and He's been faithful,
Amen.
very faithful.
Very.
So I'm going to give you 2 minutes for this one. It's Mother's Day. You have a wonderful relationship with the ladies of this church. You led women's ministry for years. Had to give it up because of the responsibilities of running the day-to-day operations of the church, and you are our EDO, our Executive Director of Operations, and moved into that role about 2 years ago, and that was one of the things I had to go. But I know that your heart, I know your heart for women. I know your heart for mothers, for wives, for single, for widows. I know your heart. It's profound. What would you like to say to the women of Freedom Center Church on Mother's Day?
Oh, goodness. And that's a hard question. Why didn't you give me time to prepare for that one?
Because I want it to come from your heart and not from a sermon.
I guess right now, right here, I would just say I feel like all of us are experiencing a loss of some sort, whether it's we've lost an income, we've lost a job, we've lost a family member, we've lost our freedom, we've lost, and people are feeling bad for having feelings, and whether they're good, they're bad, they're just, stay off of social media, man. Quit comparing, this has been my big thing that I've done lately is I've got on and I'm seeing people in Idaho that are returning to life. I'm seeing people in Arizona and, places where we love people, where family lives.
Yeah.
And they're going back to life, and I'm getting angry. And, and then God's like, does that show me off well? Does that, Right. And I was talking with my sister last night.
Here we go. Go ahead.
So just last night talking with my sister, and I was just saying that my challenge lately for people has been, don't get in the mud with the pigs and play with what's happening right now. But constantly be asking yourself, who can I do good for today? Who can I do good for right here, right now? When all of this started, you could go to Uncle Ray's and it would be like, hey, the person behind or the person in front of you paid for, yours. Do you want to pay for the people behind you? And they got it to one night she said it was 40 some people
Yeah, like
had
46
done that,
people had paid, yeah.
But I'm watching that the farther and farther we're getting into this, that's kind of diminishing. And just constantly who can I do good for today, right? Every woman out there, you can do something good today for someone. And the something good may be, I'm not going to get on social media and put my opinion out there today. The something good may be, I'm going to write a check and send it to feed hungry people right now. Yeah. There's good all of us can do today. So look for the good. Some of you, it's just letting your kids sit on your lap and enjoy them. I saw something yesterday on Facebook that was so good, and it was so many moms are stressed right now trying to get sure that their kids get the schooling done, that they get, everything being required, and that moms are saying, I can't be productive, I can't be. And the picture was actually a mom laying on a couch with kids just one's laying on her, a couple are sitting, and they said, it's okay if this is the most productive thing you do today because you're producing behaviors in little people.
I love that.
And I just, so that mom was doing what was good for those kids that day, and she was doing good. So all of us can do something good to show the love of Jesus to people today. And so I just want to challenge you ladies that we can all do something good and find somebody today to do good for. And just let God use you to be incredible. He wants to show himself off through you today. So
thank you. Thank you for sharing your heart. I know that this is kind of a scary thing. Let's turn a bunch of bright lights and cameras and ask you questions you don't know ahead of time. But I am grateful for who you are. And I knew that as you answer these questions, they come from a depth, from a maturity, from an experience. And you do not disappoint, Dena Wiegand. We love you. And today, if you're watching this and you're like, she talks a lot about God. She talks a lot about the Bible. She talks a lot about prayer and process. And you're like, those words have meaning to me, but they don't seem to form a relational picture. I would just say to you in the closing moments of our time together that you would understand this, that Jesus, the Son of God, came to this earth, lived a sinless life, taught us how to live, showed us the way to live, died a death that was substitutionary. In other words, I deserve death, you deserve death, we deserve judgment because of our sin, but Jesus doesn't watch as we suffer. He intervenes and suffers in our place. He's wounded for our transgressions. He's bruised for our iniquities. He's chastised for our peace. His body is striped by a cat of nine tails for our healing. Everything that we deserved or deserve, he took from us, and as a substitute would just say, I'll pay that bill. He's done that for you, and he's done that for me, and he's done that for us. If you're watching today and you're just a long ways from God, boy, I know a lot of prayers would be answered. Maybe even your mother's prayers would be answered right now by just saying yes to Jesus. And I encourage you to do that. I want to pray with you before we go. And if you just feel like you're a long ways from God, would you just join me right now? Let's not let distance. That distance is a lie. God is right wherever we left him. He's right where he's always been. So just pray with me now. Jesus, I just thank you. And I pray that you would just bridge that gap. I pray that you would forgive us. I pray that you would heal us. I pray that you would give us peace. I pray that you would speak to our hearts today, God, through your word and through your Holy Spirit. I pray that the body would be active and that those who are listening right now, God, would just feel your love wherever they are. I pray, God, that today you would make many people born again. Clean slates, fresh starts, new beginnings. We declare it, we receive it, we love you, and we thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. Well, on behalf of the First Lady of the Freedom Center, myself, and the entire staff, happy Mother's Day. God bless you. As always, if you need anything, what's the phone number they reach out to?
810-629-5261, or they can also email the church office at freedomcenter.church.
Love it.
Nope, I did that wrong.
Okay.
No, I didn't. Office at freedomcenter.church. Yes.
Office at freedomcenter.church. God bless you guys. Enjoy your day. Eat way too much and have fun. We love you. We'll see you again soon.